Welcome back to Two Hosts, One Message. Today, we are stripping away all the noise and really just zeroing in on a single powerful text. We want to extract the insights that matter most for you, the learner. And we're looking at a message that feels incredibly timely.
It really does.
And it was delivered on a Sunday that holds a lot of historical weight.
It does. We're looking at a sermon called It's Gonna Be All Right by Pastor J-Anthony Dargan. And just to give you the context right away, this is part 3 of his series, Living Ready.
Right.
It's a 4-week journey all the way through the book of 1 Thessalonians.
And the timing here is just, it's absolutely key to understanding the depth of this message. This wasn't just any Sunday.
Yeah.
It was delivered on January 18th, 2026. That is Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. weekend. And as we go through this, you're going to see how Pastor J-Anthony just weaves the themes of that weekend.
Oh, yeah.
You know, the resilience specifically into this ancient text in a way that is, it's just profound.
It's a fascinating synthesis. And our mission for today, as we kind of analyze this, is to understand what Pastor J-Anthony calls the ultimate comfort of the believer. So we're going to be talking about navigating chaos, about dealing with grief, and, you know, this paradox of holding infinite hope even when you're staring down infinite disappointment.
And to get us there, we really have to start exactly where Pastor J-Anthony started. He opens with this illustration that I think everyone on some level can relate to.
Absolutely.
He takes us into an emergency room.
Which is, I mean, rarely a calm place.
Exactly. So picture the setting. It's late at night. The room is bright. The lights are harsh, clinical. It's loud, it's unfamiliar, you've got machines beeping, rhythmically, doctors speaking in that rapid-fire medical shorthand.
Yeah, that language you don't understand.
Right. And nurses are moving with a serious urgency. It's just a sensory overload of stress.
It's an environment designed for crisis, but for anyone else. For a visitor, it just feels like pure chaos.
And in the middle of all this chaos, Pastor J-Anthony describes a young child. He's overwhelmed, he's frightened, and he's confused. And he describes him as crying uncontrollably because, quite simply, nothing around him made sense.
That is a terrifying feeling.
Yeah.
When the logic of your world just collapses, it's not just pain, it's the lack of orientation.
But then the whole dynamic shifts. The father is there. He leans down to the child. He takes his hand, looks him squarely in the eyes, and he says just 5 words.
It's going to be all right.
It's going to be all right. And here is the aha moment that Pastor J-Anthony points out. And I love this detail because it's so counterintuitive.
What's that?
The room didn't change.
Right.
The doctors didn't stop working. The machines kept beeping. The chaos was still there. I mean, the threat was arguably still there. But the child changed. He went silent.
That is such a crucial distinction.
Yeah.
The circumstance didn't alter, but the internal state of the child did.
Yeah.
And Pastor J-Anthony connects this immediately to the spiritual lesson. He says, when you trust the voice, you can endure the moment.
That's it. Life is that emergency room. It's too loud, it's too fast, too uncertain. And grief just turns the volume up on all of it.
Precisely. And that's the bridge he uses to take us right into the text for this discussion, which is 1 Thessalonians chapter 4.
So let's unpack this, because to understand why this message, it's going to be all right, why it matters, we have to understand who Paul was writing to.
Yeah.
Who were the Thessalonians? Because like you said, they weren't sitting in some comfortable building.
No, not at all. This is where the history makes the text just pop. Thessalonica was a major Greco-Roman city, a real melting pot of mythology, philosophy, emperor worship.
So a busy place.
A very sophisticated place. But when it came to the topic of death, surprisingly, a really hopeless place.
How so?
Well, think about their options. I mean, Greek mythology offered some vivid stories, sure, but the afterlife was basically this shadowy, gloomy existence. There was no joy there. Then you had Roman religion, which was all about loyalty to Caesar. Great for the empire, not so comforting when, your mother passes away.
Not a lot of personal hope there.
Not at all.
Yeah.
And the philosophers, they either taught, just emotional detachment, don't feel anything, or they taught that death was total extinction. The end. Lights out.
So you're either a ghost in the shadows or you just cease to exist. That is a bleak menu of options.
It's incredibly bleak. And against that backdrop, you have the believers in Thessalonica, and they were confused. They were new converts. Loved ones had died before Jesus returned, and they were terrified. Like, did they miss out? Is death the winner? They were just surrounded by explanations for death. But what they lacked was hope.
And that's why Paul steps in. And I love how Pastor J-Anthony frames this. He says Paul doesn't offer a theory. He doesn't offer a best guess or some philosophical counterpoint.
No, he offers revelation. He says, according to the Lord's word, he's drawing the line in the sand. He's saying, stop listening to the myths and the philosophers. Here is the truth.
So let's get into that truth. Pastor J-Anthony breaks this down into 3 main points. The first one is about the nature of grief itself. He says, grief is real, but it is not hopeless.
This is so important for the learner to grasp. There's a misconception sometimes in religious circles, or even just in optimistic circles, that if you have enough faith, you shouldn't be sad.
Right, that you should be past it.
Exactly. Pastor J-Anthony shuts that down immediately. He points out that God is not uncomfortable with our questions. He isn't offended by our tears.
He used the example of Jesus, didn't he?
He did. Jesus wept at the tomb of Lazarus. Now, think about the logic of that. Jesus knew he was about to raise Lazarus from the dead.
He knew the solution was minutes away.
Right. But he still wept. He still felt the weight of that moment.
That's powerful. It validates the pain. It's not saying the pain is an illusion just because you know how the story ends.
It implies that faith and grief can exist in the same heart at the same time. Paul isn't telling the Thessalonians don't grieve. He's saying, do not grieve like the rest of mankind who have no hope.
So it's the manner of the grief, not the fact of it.
Exactly. And this leads to that interesting word Paul uses. He calls death sleep. Now, Pastor J-Anthony clarifies this. It's not to minimize the pain. It's not pretending it's just a nap.
No.
But sleep implies something very specific.
It implies waking up.
It implies waking up. It signals that God is not done yet. If you're sleeping, the story isn't over.
Which brings us to point number 2. The logic of resurrection. And I call it logic because Pastor J-Anthony really lays it out like a legal argument.
It is a logical argument. It's all based on verse 14, which he calls the Great Confession. The text says, for we believe that Jesus died and rose again.
Okay.
Everything hinges on that one premise.
Okay, so let's trace the line. If we believe Jesus rose,
then we must believe that God will bring with Jesus those who have fallen asleep in him. The argument is, if A happened, then B must happen.
Right.
And Pastor J-Anthony makes this point that resurrection isn't just something Jesus experienced as, an individual. It's something he secured for others.
It's like he broke the seal.
Yes. Because he lives, death has been dealt a decisive blow. It means death is not the final word. It ensures that the relationship with the Lord is unbroken.
And this is where it gets really interesting for me, because we are talking about this message being delivered on MLK weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And Pastor J-Anthony pivots here to make a connection that honestly I hadn't thought of before, connecting this ancient text to the civil rights struggle.
This is where we get into that infinite hope concept.
Yes. He quotes Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who said, "We must accept infinite disappointment, but never lose infinite hope."
Wow. It's such a heavy quote. Infinite disappointment.
It feels heavy because it feels true. And Pastor J-Anthony talks about how there are people who they cannot accept finite disappointment. They get stuck in it.
They do. They become bitter. They grow cynical. They give up on people. They give up on justice. And yeah, sometimes they give up on God.
Because the disappointment just feels infinite. It feels like the loop will never close.
But Dr. King reminds us, and Pastor J-Anthony emphasizes this, that while disappointment is real and, unavoidable, it's never meant to have the final word. Hope has to outlive the hurt.
And that is where the sermon connects back to Scripture in such a brilliant way. He brings in Isaiah 59.92. When the enemy comes in like a flood,
the Spirit of the Lord will lift up a standard against him.
Let's just deconstruct those images for a second. A flood.
A flood is overwhelming. It's destructive. It's chaotic. It's that emergency room all over again. Loud, fast, uncontrollable. That is the infinite disappointment. The injustice, the pressure, the grief that feels like it's just drowning you.
But then comes the standard.
Yes. A standard isn't just a flag. In this context, it's a banner of defense. It's a rallying point. It's resistance. Pastor J-Anthony explains that when life surges against us, God steps in for us. He lifts hope higher than the flood. And
here's the core takeaway he drives home. When God steps in, he ensures that while the disappointment is real, it is finite, never final.
Finite, meaning it has limits, it has boundaries, and most importantly, it is never the end of the story.
That is the anchor. It is finite, never final.
And that takes us right back to the ER illustration. The machines are still beeping, the flood is still there, but the Father's voice, the standard, that changes how the child experiences it.
Right. The child realizes the fear is finite because the Father's presence is there.
Exactly.
So we have the permission to grieve. We have the logic of the resurrection. But Pastor J-Anthony has one more point. And this one is about what we do with all this. Point 3, community and encouragement.
This is the strategy. Paul ends the passage with, therefore, encourage one another with these words. And Pastor J-Anthony asks, why? Why do we need to encourage each other? Why isn't individual belief enough?
Because the enemy's tactic is isolation.
Exactly. When you're hurting, what's the first thing you want to do? You withdraw, you pull back, you feel like you're the only one carrying this burden.
I've been there. It's easier to hide than to try and explain.
But that is dangerous ground. Pastor J-Anthony teaches that resurrection hope isn't just something we believe, it's something we offer to one another. He actually did something during the service. He told the congregation to look at the person next to them.
Right, he said to look them in the eye and say, we're in this thing together.
It sounds so simple, but think about the power of that. In a room full of people who might be struggling with that infinite disappointment, God puts us in community so that when one person's strength is low, another can stand beside them.
It's like we're outsourcing our hope when our own supply runs dry.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
Yeah.
We hold the hope for each other. We're not meant to survive the emergency room of life alone.
So let's zoom out and just look at the whole picture here. We started in a chaotic hospital room with a terrified kid. We traveled to ancient Thessalonica where people were staring into this abyss of death with no hope. And we landed on MLK weekend with a call to accept disappointment, but hold on to hope.
The common thread is trust. The child trusted the Father. The Thessalonians were called to trust the revelation of Jesus. And we're called to trust that the disappointment we feel right now, it's not the end.
It goes right back to that quote from the beginning. When you trust the voice, you can endure the moment.
And that really is the ultimate comfort of the believer. It's not that we escape the moment. We don't get airlifted out of the ER immediately.
Right.
But we get a promise that changes everything. We get the assurance that because Jesus lives, the chaos is temporary.
It's finite.
It's finite.
You know, before we sign off, I just want to leave our listeners with something to mull over. We talked about Dr. King's idea that disappointment is finite, but hope is infinite.
Yeah.
So here's the question. If you truly believed, like deep down in your bones, that your current biggest stressor, the thing keeping you up at night, is guaranteed to be finite, but your hope is infinite, how does that change the way you navigate that stressor right now?
That's the question. If the disappointment has an expiration date, but the hope doesn't, that changes the posture of your heart completely.
It really does. Thank you for diving deep with us today on Two Hosts, One Message. We hope this message from Pastor J-Anthony gave you something to hold on to.
Absolutely.
Until next time, live ready.
Live ready.
This week's Two Hosts, One Message reflects on Pastor J-Anthony Dargan's sermon, It's Going to Be All Right, the Ultimate Comfort of the Believer, Part 3 of the Living Ready series, based on 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, verses 13 through 18 in the NIV. Paul reminds the church that we don't have to grieve like those with no hope. Jesus is coming again, and that promise doesn't erase the pain, but it anchors us. When life feels uncertain, this is the comfort. God has the final word. Catch the full sermon replay and the live stream on Facebook at Congregational Church of God NYC, on YouTube at CCOGNYC. Worship with us in person on Sundays at 10 a.m. at Congregational Church of God, 1889 Amsterdam Avenue, between West 153rd and 154th Streets in New York. And don't underestimate what happens in the room. In-person worship gives you real community, not just a stream. An atmosphere of faith you can feel, prayer, encouragement, and connection that strengthens you for the week, and a moment to reset your heart and mind in God's presence. Midweek study on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. is our Spiritual Development and Deployment series. Email us at ccognyc@aol.com for Zoom info. Quick favor, help us reach 1,000 subscribers in 2026. tap subscribe, then share this episode with one person who needs comfort and hope. Support the work so we can continue reaching those who need a word in these difficult times. You can give with PayPal or Zelle using our email address, CCOGNYC@AOL.com, or with Cash App by using our handle, $CCOGNYC, or Givelify by searching Congregational Church of God, 1889 Amsterdam Avenue, New York, New York, 10032. Hold on to hope, stay living ready, and remember, it's going to be all right. Until next time, this is two hosts, one message. Thanks for listening.